Have you ever looked at a brand new SUV and assumed, well, at least it'll hold its value better than most cars? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some of the newest gas SUVs on sale right now are already on track to lose tens of thousands of dollars in just a few years. Not because they're old, not because they're outdated, but because the market simply doesn't want them. And no, this is not an EV list. These are gas-powered SUVs, many of them recently redesigned, many priced like premium vehicles, and many quietly turning into depreciation traps in 2026. Today on Torque Hub, we're breaking down 15 new gas SUVs with the worst resale outlook, based on a combination of long-term depreciation trend modeling from sources like CarEdge, dealer inventory pressure and incentive behavior, used market supply patterns, brand reliability history and ownership reputation, and, most importantly, real buyer behavior in today's market. Important context before we start. This does not mean these vehicles are bad cars. If you plan to keep your SUV for 8 to 10 years, depreciation hurts less. But if you finance, trade every few years, or care about equity, this list can save you a painful amount of money. We're going from least bad to absolute worst, so make sure you stay to the end because the final few on this list are genuinely shocking. And if you appreciate honest, hype-free car market analysis, hit the like button. It helps more buyers avoid expensive mistakes. All right, let's get into it. The 2025 Buick Enclave should have been a resale success story. It got a full redesign, it looks more modern, it's more efficient, and historically, redesigns usually help resale value. But early depreciation trends suggest this one isn't following the usual script. Current projections and market behavior point to the Enclave losing around half its value within just a few years, which is steep for a mainstream three-row family SUV. So what's going wrong? First, fleet exposure. Buick sells a large number of Enclaves to rental and commercial fleets. That matters because when those vehicles come back to the used market in bulk, supply spikes and prices fall for everyone, including private owners. Second, the powertrain change. Buick dropped its long-running V6 in favor of a smaller turbocharged four-cylinder. On paper, that's great for fuel economy, but in a big three-row SUV, many buyers feel it's simply not as smooth or as confidence-inspiring, especially when the vehicle is loaded or towing. Early owner feedback points to things like hesitant or rough-feeling shifts, noticeable turbo lag, and concerns about long-term durability perception. None of this means the Enclave is a bad vehicle, but resale is driven by confidence, and right now, buyer confidence is soft. Add in aggressive discounts on new models, and used values take the hit first. Next up is the 2025 Infiniti QX80, and this one is painful because it should be doing better. Infiniti finally gave the QX80 a long overdue redesign with a new turbocharged engine, a much more modern interior, and significantly higher pricing, often pushing well into luxury SUV territory. And yet, depreciation projections suggest over half of its value could disappear within just a few years. The problem isn't the product. The problem is the brand's position in the market. Luxury SUV buyers today overwhelmingly gravitate toward names like Lexus, Cadillac, BMW, Mercedes. Infiniti unfortunately sits in an awkward middle ground, priced like true luxury, but perceived closer to premium mainstream. Add in shrinking dealer presence and long-term uncertainty about the brand's direction, and buyer confidence suffers. And when confidence drops, resale follows. The QX80 becomes the kind of SUV people buy only with massive discounts, and that is never good for long-term value. And we're just getting started. The SUVs coming up next depreciate even faster than these, and some of them are already being heavily discounted while still sitting brand new on dealer lots. If you want honest car market breakdowns without hype, subscribe to Torque Hub. It costs nothing, and it helps you avoid very expensive mistakes. Perfect. Let's keep building this properly. At number 13 is the 2025 Nissan Murano, and this one is a textbook example of how bad pricing decisions destroy resale value.
The Murano was always meant to live in a comfortable middle space, more stylish and comfortable than a basic compact SUV, but not quite a full three-row family hauler. The problem is where it's priced in 2026. With many trims landing between $40,000 and $50,000, the Murano now sits uncomfortably close to both larger, more practical three-row SUVs and entry-level luxury SUVs. That's a dangerous place to be. Buyers at this price point usually do one of two things: save money and buy something like a CR-V or RAV4, or stretch slightly and move up to a Highlander, Pilot, or a luxury-branded alternative. The Murano doesn't clearly win either comparison. Now add inventory pressure. In many markets, there are still large numbers of unsold Muranos sitting on dealer lots. To move them, dealers have been forced to offer heavy incentives and deep discounts. And here's the brutal rule of the used market: when new cars are discounted aggressively, used values collapse immediately. Early resale behavior suggests Murano owners can see around 30% of their value disappear in the first year alone. Not because the Murano is unreliable, not because it's a terrible vehicle, but because demand simply isn't strong enough at its current price point.
Next is the Jeep Grand Cherokee, a legendary nameplate that's been having a very rough few years. On the surface, the Grand Cherokee still looks like a solid deal. Good design, lots of tech, multiple powertrain options. But resale value tells a different story. Current projections point to roughly half its value disappearing within just a few years, and that's before we even talk about what many owners are experiencing. The biggest issue is electronics and software reliability perception. Owners have reported problems with infotainment systems freezing or going dark, digital gauge clusters glitching, climate controls and driver assist features tied into the same unstable systems. Add to that a long recall history across recent model years, including issues serious enough to hurt buyer confidence. There's also the plug-in hybrid 4xe variant, which has faced well-publicized reliability concerns that have made many used buyers especially cautious. And finally, there's the pricing hangover. A lot of Grand Cherokees were sold during peak demand with heavy markups. Now that the market is normalized, resale values don't reflect what people actually paid, leaving many owners upside down on their loans. That gap between loan balance and market value is poison for resale perception. At number 11 is the 2025 Nissan Armada, a full-size SUV that has never been a resale champion, and the latest version hasn't changed that. Historically, the Armada appealed to buyers who wanted real full-size capability at a lower price than a Tahoe, Yukon, or Lexus LX. But Nissan has steadily pushed the Armada up market. Many new Armadas now start near $60,000 and climb well past that when optioned. That creates a serious problem. At this price level, buyers expect strong brand prestige, proven long-term durability, and powertrains they trust. Nissan's move away from its old V8 to a turbocharged V6 might make sense on paper, but in this segment, perception matters more than spec sheets. Many traditional full-size SUV buyers still associate big engines, simple mechanicals, and long-term toughness with long-term value. When confidence drops, used buyers hesitate, and when used buyers hesitate, resale values fall quickly. Current projections suggest over 50% depreciation within just a few years, and early used listings already reflect heavy losses. And from here on, things get uglier. The SUVs coming up next don't just lose value because of pricing mistakes, they lose value because buyers are afraid of owning them once the warranty is gone. If this breakdown is helping you make smarter buying decisions, subscribe to Torque Hub and turn on notifications. Excellent. Now we're entering the danger zone of this list. At number 10 is the 2025 Volkswagen Atlas, a three-row SUV that looks great on paper but continues to struggle badly in the resale market. The Atlas offers tons of space, good road presence, and competitive pricing. So why does it lose value so fast?
The answer is long-term ownership confidence. Volkswagen's recent reliability reputation in North America has been shaky, especially when it comes to electronics, infotainment systems, transmission behavior, and general software stability. Even when these problems are not catastrophic, they create fear in the used market, and fear is enough to crush resale. Another issue is incentive dependency. Volkswagen often relies on cash rebates, special financing, and lease deals to move Atlas inventory. And as you've already seen in this video, the moment new cars are discounted heavily, used values get dragged down with them. Many nearly new Atlases already appear on the market at steep discounts compared to their original sticker prices. That tells you everything you need to know about where long-term values are headed.
Next is the 2025 Ford Explorer, one of the most famous SUV names in America and one of the most inconsistent when it comes to resale. The Explorer suffers from three big problems. First, quality consistency. Some owners have perfectly fine experiences. Others deal with transmission issues, electrical problems, interior quality complaints, and repeated service visits. That inconsistency alone is enough to scare away used buyers. Second, fleet and rental exposure. Explorers are everywhere in rental fleets, police fleets, corporate fleets, which means a huge number of used units flood the market every year. High supply plus mixed reputation equals weak resale. Third, pricing pressure. Ford pushed Explorer prices significantly higher over the last few years, but the used market simply doesn't agree with those numbers. As a result, many 2-3-year-old Explorers already sell for dramatically less than what owners still owe. That negative equity problem feeds right back into depreciation. This one surprises a lot of people. The Mazda CX90 is a good-looking, well-driving, premium-feeling SUV. But resale doesn't care about vibes. It cares about brand history and buyer trust. The CX90 is built on Mazda's newest platform with a new turbo inline-six, a new transmission design, and new hybrid systems. And while that's exciting, the used market has a rule. First-generation powertrains always get punished, even if they're good. Add to that Mazda's smaller dealer network, higher than expected pricing, and buyers cross-shopping Lexus and Toyota instead. And you get a vehicle that leases well, reviews well, but depreciates faster than it should. Early resale data already suggests steep drops compared to sticker price, especially for higher trims. This is not because the CX90 is bad. It's because used buyers are cautious, and caution destroys resale. Now here's where things turn from somewhat risky to financially dangerous. The next SUVs on this list are the ones many owners actively regret buying once they see trade-in offers. If you've ever wondered why dealers sometimes offer shockingly low numbers for certain SUVs, the next section explains exactly why. Brace yourself. This is where the list turns brutal. Here is. At number 7 is the 2025 Chevrolet Traverse, a 3-row family SUV that looks competitive but absolutely collapses in the used market. The Traverse has 3 major problems. First, fleet saturation. Like several GM crossovers, the Traverse is heavily sold to rental fleets, corporate fleets, government fleets. That means a steady flood of used units hits the market every year. And when supply is always high, prices stay low no matter how decent the vehicle is. Second, powertrain reputation. GM's V6 and transmission combinations and crossovers have had shift quality complaints, long-term durability concerns, and expensive out-of-warranty repair stories. Even if the newest versions are improved, the reputation lingers, and resale markets remember. Third, incentive culture. Traverse is almost always sold with rebates, dealer discounts, and special financing, which means very few people actually pay sticker. And again, if nobody pays MSRP, the used market won't respect MSRP either. The result? Steep depreciation and weak trade-in offers even at relatively low mileage.
This one shocks people. The Bronco Sport looks like it should be a resale winner, but it's already showing clear signs of value erosion. Why? Because it's caught in a dangerous identity trap. It's not a real Bronco, it's not a true off-roader, and it's priced higher than most compact SUVs. Add in early engine issues on some variants, transmission and driveline complaints, and extremely high initial hype pricing, and you get a classic pattern. Hype-driven vehicles almost always fall the hardest. Now that supply has normalized and the hype has cooled, used prices are dropping much faster than most owners expected, especially for higher trims. The Bronco Sport isn't a bad vehicle, but it is a bad value holder relative to what many people paid.
This one hurts. The Jeep Grand Wagoneer is one of the most expensive mainstream branded SUVs on the market, and that is exactly why it's a resale disaster. We're talking about $90,000 plus transaction prices, massive depreciation in absolute dollars, and a buyer pool that is much smaller than Jeep expected. The Grand Wagoneer has incredible interior, tons of tech, serious presence, but it also has complex electronics, complicated powertrains, and a Jeep badge that does not carry 100K level trust in the used market. Add in early reliability concerns, recalls, and rapidly rising repair cost fears, and you get a vehicle that bleeds value the moment it leaves the lot. Some owners have already seen 5-figure losses in shockingly short time spans. And now we've reached the top 4. These aren't just bad, these are the SUVs that dealers actively avoid taking on trade unless they absolutely have to. If you think the Grand Wagoneer is bad, the next 4 are even worse. Here we go, the worst of the worst. At number 4 is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, one of the best driving SUVs in its class and one of the worst financial decisions you can make in this segment. Alfa Romeo has 2 massive problems in the resale market. First, brand trust. Fair or not, Alfa still carries a long-standing reputation for electrical issues, expensive repairs, and weak long-term durability. Even if newer models are better, the used market does not forgive easily. Second, dealer network and ownership anxiety. In many regions, Alfa dealerships are sparse, combined with other brands, or disappearing entirely. Used buyers think long-term, and if they're worried about where the car gets serviced in 5 years, they simply won't pay strong money for it. Add in heavy discounting when new, weak lease residuals, and limited buyer pool, and you get a vehicle that drops like a rock in value. The Land Rover Discovery is legendary off-road. It is also legendary for depreciation. Land Rover suffers from one of the worst combinations in the used market: extremely complex engineering, very high repair costs, and a long, very public reliability reputation problem. Even people who love how these drive often say, "Never own one out of warranty." And that single sentence destroys resale value. The Discovery is also heavily discounted when new, which sets a terrible floor for used pricing. As a result, these often lose well over half their value in just a few years.
This one is pure pain. The Maserati Grecale looks exotic, it sounds expensive, it feels special, but in the resale market, nobody wants the ownership risk. Maserati suffers from extremely limited dealer network, very high service costs, serious long-term reliability fear, and brutal new car discounting. The result? Some Grecales lose more than half their value almost immediately after purchase. This is the kind of SUV you lease, never buy.
This is the depreciation king of this list. Between Grand Cherokee L, Wagoneer, and Grand Wagoneer, Jeep has flooded the market with expensive, complex, tech-heavy SUVs. They have massive incentives, a recall history, reliability fear, and extremely high transaction prices. Dealers already struggle to move used ones, and when dealers don't want them, prices collapse. Some owners are seeing jaw-dropping losses compared to what they paid. Look, none of these SUVs are necessarily terrible vehicles, but the market doesn't care about your intentions. It only cares about supply, demand, brand trust, and long-term ownership fear. If you're buying new and care about your money, this list can save you tens of thousands of dollars. If you want the opposite video, SUVs that actually hold their value, tell me in the comments. And if you want honest, no BS car market analysis, subscribe to Torque Hub. See you in the next one.